Okay, so we are working on this apron. I am not working on it. I'm actually sacrificing some things like picking up and stuff to get it done. I'm really tired. I am late on my cycle, probably because I have all kinds of emotions about things coming up, but we are getting this apron done. So Simplicity SS, like we're getting on a ship or something. Simplicity S8857. It's an apron pattern. We're working on B and C. We're going to be putting the little collar pieces, not collar pieces, but the pieces here and the band. Not sure if we'll end up attaching the lining to the front of the bodice yet in this video, but we'll just see about how much we can get done. We're gonna start by ironing anything that needs a fold. We are going to iron that. Then we will do stitches. Be mindful when you have your pattern pieces. You know, we're going to be keeping an eye on these dots. So the way that I like to keep an eye on dots like that is, honestly, it's like, for me, it is just the finger. For these, I don't need to write. I just kind of pinpoint my finger. It's about a finger width. And then that's how I know where I'm lining things up. But as you see, we're going to be sewing along, sewing it together like this, where the dots are. And so what I like to do is just iron it to make it super fast and easy for sewing without any kind of craziness happening. So let's get into that. I'm Josephine. This is my channel, The Versatile Housewife. And this is a tutorial I've been meaning to get to. I know that a lot of people are probably wanting to see me sew the A pattern, which will be coming up after this is finished, but going to be working on that at some point. It's just a little bit trickier to get lined up. And since I've had the pattern pieces lying around, they are all kinds of ripped. I need to tape them up. I honestly need to get some wax paper out and kind of trace new pieces so that I still have it. But let's get into it now. So I have these pieces here, and what we need to do is we need to put them right side in. So with this fabric, it does have a slight accenting with the little stars. So this is the right side. It's just a piece of lint. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this. All right. Same thing with this one. Just folding it in half. And look how easy that is now. Let me get the piece. So we have here, front band, center front. This is gonna go, you know, here. But as far as stitching goes, look how easy that is. It's just about a finger. And then you know it goes right there. I love that, convenient. But now we got these, wait, did I do this correct? No, I did that wrong. Let me do it the other way. Slightly annoying. I did it the wrong way. I will leave this in so you can see if you feel like you're messing up. You're not alone. And I've made so many of these. And I even made a version of this where I simplified it and I cut my own pieces that had a lot of the banding together. So I don't think it's as form-fitting, but it whips up so quick. There we go. All right. Got my two front bands. And we'll go ahead and we'll also iron the strap. So your piece 13. Again, this piece also right side in. Iron this. All right. Oh. And then you can just pin it and we'll work on sewing that. So now what we're gonna do is go along with the 5/8 inch seam allowance, and we're going to stitch the sides And then after we stitch the sides, it says to trim. Now, the pattern doesn't say how much you need to trim, but we're going to be doing that 4 times, all on these sides, 5/8 inch seam allowance. Let's go. There was no change as to what seam allowance we use. It doesn't say based or anything, so let's do this. I'm running out of white thread, so if this is, I prefer to just do it this way. This is the end of that white thread. I'll just finish the rest of my seams off camera, but I will show you the end result. So let's go ahead and do this together. I do a little locking stitch since it's not basting. Clean that up. Oh, look at that. I got some bird nesting. I'm not sure why I got that. Okay, so I still have some thread. I'll go ahead and do this, hopefully without any bird nesting. I think that was just a little weird. Locking stitch. So that side came out pretty clean. We got our 2 sides here. I still have some white thread. Let's see if I can finish it before having to refill my lower bobbin. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we got this step done. Sweet. Now we're going to trim the seams. It's going to make it easier to fold it over. And for me, I'm going to also do a zigzag stitch, but I need to reload my bobbin with more white thread for that. And then we'll flip them inside out. And just know when you are trimming these, anything we're flipping inside out, just give it a little cut on the corner, which I did not do on this one. Because when you go to flip it inside out, it's going to help keep those corners crisp. It's going to be easier to sew. So I did that. I hope it's showing. Got this big and then I will do a zigzag stitch. I'll show you that with the zigzag stitch on the edges. All right, so I put some zigzag stitches onto it. Now what I'm going to do is, it says to flip it. If I could open it, that would be great. Flip it like this, turn it. See that? I'm just going to use my shears, just kind of poke that corner out best that I can. And then you could finger press it. I much prefer to iron it also because a lot of times I don't have time to get back to it, and I feel that when I press it with the iron, it'll hold the shape better. Let's push that out a little bit more. All right. Yeah, that's looking pretty crisp. I'm going to go do the same thing to this one now. Just get that nice crisp corner. Look at that. Very crisp. I was not putting it. There we go. This one. I am so sorry that I do not have the best angling for a lot of this. Crisp corners. It's going to be even crisper after a press. Okay, we've got these here. Got our iron. And by our iron, I mean my iron. Maybe you have your iron. Look at that. I need to be careful with this one because I ironed it the wrong way last time. And now we've got our two front band pieces. For this step, you're going to need to trust the process. You take your bodice and we're going to pin and base these on. Now where they line up here, you want to line it up so the seam goes right where they kind of intersect. You don't want to be stitching. When you go to stitch it, you don't want to be stitching like way up here because you're going to have that cross. You're going to want it to be crisply ending right there. So if you need to do something like mark it for that, then that's what you got to do. But it doesn't deviate from the seam allowances. It's still a 5/8 seam allowance. So we're going to be mindful when we're stitching it, basting it, that we are keeping it from having any wrinkles. And where these pieces cross over, it's still truly, you will be stitching where it is right there and not further up here. Because you're going to have that little cutesy, it's going to split, it's going to lay flat, it's not going to be bulky. I did stitch it together where it was like crossed over and it's bulky and it just sits out like that. You're going to notice it. It'll just sit out like that. You will notice it. It will lay flat when you're mindful that you stitch right where it connects. All right, you see it is coming together. We're going to go ahead, baste it, set your sewing machine on that long length of 4, and just hold this in place because we're going to baste everything before fully just stitching it together so that final stitch is just one fell swoop. All right, I just want to give you a warning for these sections of the video as I'm going ahead, basting, stitching, whatever it is I'm doing. I've got a lot going on in the background right now and I really want to get these out to you. So I am stitching up the bodice here, and as time goes on, there will be some quiet portions in this video, and that is because I'm very pressed for time. But I'm going to leave the visuals in as opposed to talking over. If you have watched a few of these, you may have heard me referencing that I am planning on doing a bodybuilding show in October. So I have been exercising more and working on doing meal prep, but it's a lot of measuring, way more than I normally do. Like when I do chili, I just kind of throw everything in there. I go for it, and I don't worry about measuring it. I just go to taste. I add what I want. I add what I have. So in this portion, I am flipping that strap, piece 13, I believe, inside out, and I used a few different methods to get it started. I used my fingers, then I used a dowel. That's what I'm doing right here. Once I'm done using the dowel, I just kind of use my pinky. It made a really good tube, and it was grippy enough that I could pull the fabric out. But yep, so over here it's going to be a little bit more quiet. You're going to hear some silence. You're not crazy. It's not your audio. It's this video. Now we're going to go ahead and get this attached here. So what we're going to want to do is, do you see where these dots are, these circles? The idea is that's the area that's going to attach to this. Now, I grabbed a different size. This is the size large, because I've done this a couple times, so I don't really follow the circles anymore. I just go about where the placement is, but that's why it's way bigger than the front band here. But when you have your strap, you're going to just line up where the circles are, and that's where it goes on the front band. So when you're doing that, keep in mind, this is the center. So if that's the center, the strap is going to be where this is. And remember, the way I notch it is I just do little markings and put it here. It needs to be on the underside. So I did let you down for a moment. You want to make sure that the seam on these is facing outside, not inside. Otherwise, it's going to have a little bump here. You'll see that in the video, but this is an edit, and just a reminder, I'll bring it up then too when you see it again. This is the fold, this is the seam. So yes, I had to seam rip it and then put it back in the other way. Fortunately, with like the trims that I did, it didn't affect it. But yeah, you know, if you need to backtrack and do some seam ripping, it doesn't mean that you failed at your project at all. Probably means that I'm not the best at making tutorials. When we do the lining is gonna lay right side facing here. It's all gonna be sandwiched. We'll flip it. If you do it this way, it's not gonna come out right. You need to do it this way. Following that same basting stitch we did last time. Nice thick basting stitch. I did not pin this quite neatly. Okay. Strap is basted. So now that we have this piece and our lining, oops, upside down, what we're going to do is we are going to pin it. We're going to stitch it. And personally, I might stitch it twice. You don't have to. But after we pin and stitch, we're going to notch out these rounded pieces. But let's go ahead and pin this together. Make sure that your strap and these panels are inside, because you will be flipping this inside out eventually. And then that's going to give it that clean, no seam look. And this will all come back out and be usable. It's going to make, if you don't understand that, it's going to make sense in a moment. Again, we are working as if this video has been filmed in a quiet place. There's going to be moments of no audio, so I'm pinning this. And once I'm done pinning it, you will see as I go to stitch it that there is a section that I take out. I had stitched it a little too far down, so not high up where the fabric was overlapping, but too far down so that it was like having a giant gap in it. So I even make mistakes. I've made several of these. I make mistakes even now.
So this section right here, I'm going to end up doing a cut. As I get to the bottom of the sweetheart neckline, you know, that center, I do take the bodice out of the sewing machine. I take it out and I seam rip it for a little bit, but I'm not going to show that part. It's a jump cut, but I'm just explaining why I pulled it off. So right here, I had stitched too far. It was too much of a seam allowance. So I took that out and then went back and I made sure to extra mark where the front pieces overlapped so that I would have it right. And I did get it right this time. So now what we need to do is notch what's in here so that when we flip it inside out, since we confirmed that that works, we're not going to have all this bunching here. It's going to lay flat. Let's go ahead and notch this. Trim and notch, and if you want to, you can finish it. I will. And this is going to help make flipping it inside out that much easier. I don't actually know that I'll trim it. I still think I will do a little zigzag stitch. If your basting stitch is below the finished stitch, feel free to remove that. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out now. I'm gonna do it off camera, but you can just slip that basting stitch out because it will be visible. Where is it? It's on this. If you leave it in, you'll see it. I have trimmed and notched it. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is sew a zigzag stitch because I like the edges being clean. Because I throw this in the washing machine, I don't worry about being delicate at all. So I don't want it to bunch up inside the apron. This is the fun part. So now I had gone ahead and I zigzagged that. So it just feels a little bit more tidy. Watch this. Oops, I just grazed my iron with my hand. Now we can flip it inside out. Oh, look at that. Look at that. How cute. And see, we were mindful here, so got this little stray from a basting stitch. I'm just gonna trim this. Look how cute. So I'm going to press this so that the edges here, mainly over here, are lining flat, because when we go to start working on attaching the midsection and the skirt, we want this obviously to be as even as possible, or as true as it is going to be. I would hate to zip it up here and then because it's not pressed properly, it will start bunching for the rest of its wear. Everything will be enclosed with no open seams, so. And there's how neat it is on the back. And get these to kind of lie on the opposite sides. How to make sure these lie flat. If you did it the way the pattern had it, where you just press them open, it will lie pretty flat. I don't mind it having a little bit more ridge because it is kind of a princess seam in terms of just the way we got these here. And once it gets tied, it just feels structural. I am not the best at ironing and pressing, but hopefully that makes this tutorial seem unintimidating. Mostly just focusing on getting this edge nice and pressed. And of course, however you do have the seams, you want to make sure you're ironing the seams in the direction that you want them to lay for when you are sewing here. So you don't want to ignore ironing this if you're doing it any of the ways that I'm doing it, or even if you're leaving it open. You want to iron it at the end too, so that it's lying exactly how you want it when you go to sew it, versus if I leave it bunched and then it will never lie flat. Like this is not, there we go.
fact, for this, I think I might even press it on the inside just to get the seam in the direction, because I didn't iron it before this step. Maybe iron it before this step if you are watching this before even getting started. Now I'll put the other one the other direction. So they are nested. These seams are nested. Okay, this is a little frustrating. I really should have ironed this first when they were separated. Although, with the amount of time it takes me to get to stuff, they may have wrinkled back anyway. Okay. All right, this is where we are ending it today. I don't have the basting stitch on this, but go ahead and do that. You just do it, you put it on that loose setting, and just to keep these together now that you've ironed it. So if you need to take a break between doing this and the skirt, you know, it's not going to move or anything. That is one of the steps, is to throw a basting stitch on this. Do that. And when we come back, I will have had a basting stitch on this by then. We are going to work on getting the skirt prepared and the ties prepared so that we only have the two pieces, the bodice and the skirt. So it's going to be adding the bias tape to the skirt, working on getting the pieces for the midsection sewn together, getting the ties ironed and sewn on, that kind of thing. Not exactly in that order. It's bias tape, midsection to the skirt. But the idea is, once we get the skirt pretty much taken care of, before we attach the skirt to this, that's a great opportunity where you still have flexibility for adding pockets to the skirt without it being very bulky when you put the bodice on it, but also done enough that if you want to play around with the pocket design, you can kind of see, because you can at least sort of tie the skirt up so that you can see, like in the mirror or by taking pictures, kind of what it's going to look like, so you can really get creative with your pockets in a way that is very cohesive, because you have an idea what it looks like without the pocket, and then you can see you know, what you want to do with your pockets. So that's what I like to do. I pretty much like to get it to the point where it's just that's 4 fingers, 2 pieces, and once I'm at that point, that's when I'm going to start adding my pockets to it. If you do it prior to, I feel like you don't get a good picture, because pockets, they can make or break it. Like, I love those little heart-shaped pockets on that. So I'm almost thinking maybe a hibiscus for this, but that will be in another video. If you made it this far and you liked it, you thought it was a helpful tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. This is a playlist. I think you can save playlists. If you have it saved, it will automatically update as I add all the other steps to making this apron. This is Simplicity 8857. This is for B and C, because one of the main differences is just the length of the ties in the back. If you are looking for A, I'm going to increasingly check my descriptions, add links to it, but you know, feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of thing. Otherwise, it's the sewing is kind of a one-off, but it's my channel, The Versatile Housewife. There's lots of different random things that will pop up. So I hope that you have a wonderful day and good luck on your sewing project. I would love to hear if you have any comments in the comment section. I love reading those, and bye.